Okay, so here it's really important to keep your grips in, so you keep in base, elbows in. Okay, so now you're gonna move just your knee to the middle of his butt, so you're gonna change your center of gravity. So now I have a space to push his leg down with my elbow. So as soon as I'm gonna twist my body a little bit here, so I keep my base in front of him, but I twist a little bit so I can open his, so when I feel his guard is open, I'm gonna use my elbow to push his leg down, pin with my leg, switch my hip, so I keep the grip there, and pass the guard. Okay, so I'm here. I'm gonna tense a little bit until I force the guy to do this extra grip. So he's gonna try to break my posture. So when he put this extra grip, I'm gonna keep this on to keep my base, my posture. So I'm gonna do this grip here. I'm gonna break now his grip, pin his arm. So now I'm gonna go to his collar and I'm gonna put extra pressure with my elbow. So now I'm gonna step to the opposite side so he cannot grab. With my posture up, so now I can change the arm and start pushing his knee down. And now I'm gonna use the same classical shape, switch my base, replace with my arm on his hip, and establish a good side control, always on my toes. Okay guys, so now here, I'm gonna do the middle grip so I can have the, always you have to think when you pass the guard about the three joints, so his ankle, his knee, his hip, so I'm gonna grab the middle joint, I can have more control, elbows in, so now I'm gonna pull to the side to free space for my, penetrate my knee in, so now the classic Matador pass guard. The other side here, the same thing, so I pull and push, penetrate my knee, keep the grip on, so when he tries to do the hip escape, I'm in control, I can follow him. That's it. Cool, so half guard guys, my first reaction, I'm gonna keep him flat on the ground, so I'm gonna control his shoulders, putting the grip under his armpit, okay? So now I'm gonna switch my hips from this position. So here straight away, arm under his neck, so I'm gonna move. I'm sitting on his leg, pin his back on the ground, so now knee on the hip, switch my base, arm under his neck. So now my shoulder is on his face. Okay, so now I keep my base low, my head controlling his shoulder. So when he tries to bridge, it's the time I'm gonna do the underhook and use that momentum to go to mount. One more variation. Okay guys, so again here I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna pin his leg, so I push his leg so I can sit on the top of his leg, putting pressure, flat his back on the ground, okay? So now I'm gonna straight away look for the underhook here and penetrate my head beside of his head. So I keep the pressure here, I step up so I keep a good base, a good pressure on my head beside of his head. So now I have to free that leg. So I'm gonna use my toes and my hand here, this free arm, to push that leg until I can free my knee on his hip. I'm sitting on his hip now, so now I'm gonna use my base to go to kesa gatame. Okay guys, this classic camber, so I keep my guard closed. I'm gonna keep my grips on, the start of the position. So umbrella grip here, twist a little bit, thumbs in. So now both arms against one, so I take it off just one grip, go for the elbow, and with both arms I'm gonna guide his arm to the side. Control his elbow on my hip, so now I'm gonna grab his shoulder so I can pull him towards me. Leg on the hip so I can change my base and support what my grip are doing here, so I'm gonna bring this leg on the top, push his face, connect, never cross here, relax this leg on the top, head on the ground so you can have more leverage, control his arm. Okay, so I'm here in a close guard, inside of the close guard. I can feel the guy going to attack, so he break my posture. Now he got my arm, so straight away here, I'm gonna get ready to defend this arm. So I'm gonna try to hook this arm to avoid him to extend to finish the position. So when he comes here, I grab my own bicep, go behind of his knee, so now I have to avoid him to bridge up. So I'm gonna step forward, my leg is gonna go behind of his butt here, so I can keep a good pressure down, and I start shaking till I escape my arm here. So now with the same grip, I push him to the side, arm under his neck, so I can pass the guard. Okay guys, another classical position in Jiu-Jitsu. So now I'm gonna use my legs and my arms to break his posture and open his arm up. So I'm gonna open here, keep the grip, now I'm gonna sit up. My arm goes through his arm until I can reach my own wrist. So now I'm gonna put my foot on his hip, bring my leg on the top so avoid him to roll, and now I'm gonna guide his arm to finish. Okay guys, so I'm here in posture, he's gonna break my posture here. So now when I feel he's sitting up to go for the kimura, straight away, I'm gonna try to hide this arm behind my knee. So I'm gonna step up so I can go further here. So I can reach my own knee, put my knee on the ground, and now I keep the pressure here until he's gonna give up the position. Okay guys, another classic submission in Jiu-Jitsu, the omoplata, it's the shoulder lock. So always start with both grips on. So I'm gonna switch my grip now. Okay, so I'm just gonna take it off this grip when I got the second arm around. So now I'm gonna pull his arm across and reach, scoop under his leg. So now I'm gonna penetrate my leg here so I can really scoop under his armpit with my knee. So I'm gonna extend my leg here, flat him face on the ground. So now straight away I'm gonna take it off this grip, hug his waist, control his arm. I'm gonna switch my base here. Now the pressure of my knee on his shoulder is gonna make him tap. Okay guys, so my partner is gonna go for the omoplata. So here, so my first reaction, so he has to flat me on the ground. So he must extend that leg so he can flat my face on the ground. So straight away what I'm gonna do here, so my knee shifts from this position to the knee right, and I step up. So now when he tries to force me there, it's gonna be hard for him. So from here, I can keep my posture and start to escape my arm because he's not going to have enough pressure there. I push his legs and establish side control. Okay, so again, omoplata position, so he's going for his attack, so now I'm gonna go for the same position. So I step up, knee on the hips, knee on the knee right, so I step up with this leg so I can have a base. So now I'm gonna shift this knee over his face so I can go to the other side of his guard. So from here guys, I'm gonna go past this leg, straight away, arm under his neck, so I can put pressure and establish a good side control. Okay guys, so there's so many different ways to set up the triangle. The one I recommend so you can train the control of your spider guard as well. So from here, spider guard, you're gonna pull one arm across and pass the other arm over his shoulder at the same time. So here, you can even put your foot on his hip to support the catch. So you're gonna hook with your leg over his shoulder. So you must grab your ankle here so you can adjust. Put the pressure on, arm across, and finish the position. Okay guys, so I'm in triangle here. So my first reaction is try to keep my head up. So to do that and at the same time to save this arm as well, to protect this arm against the umber here. So I'm gonna put my hand under my chin here. I'm gonna grab with the other arm so I can keep a good posture. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn so his knees point to that way. So I'm gonna force him to go to that way here and start to switch my hips as well. So now my hand goes behind his knee. I keep putting pressure on the top of his hip until he's open his triangle, so I can pass the guard. Okay, so the number 2, it's when he's controlling my arm and I cannot reach under my chin. So I cannot posture up here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do a grip on his arm, and now I'm gonna step, reach my foot under his armpit, so I'm gonna extend and push myself out, pull myself out so I can escape from the triangle. Okay, so here, establish a good close guard. So now I'm gonna do the first grip to set up the choke. So now I'm gonna take it off this hand, and I'm gonna go under with 4 fingers, so 4 fingers in on the lapel. It's really important, don't twist your wrist, keep your wrist straight. So now the second 4 fingers goes under, so I can reach the other lapel, and now I'm gonna pull him towards me, squeezing my elbows, my wrists. So I'm gonna do this movement here, grab, go there, and do the choke. Okay, so he got the both grips. So now I have to avoid him to open his elbow. So he's gonna try to open his elbow and also do that little trick with his wrist. So I must stop this motion. So I'm gonna hug both elbows or across. So I'm just gonna hug over his arms. I'm gonna squeeze his elbows together. So now to avoid his wrist motion, I'm gonna start to give a little shake and put pressure down so he can slide his grips down and I can free my neck. Okay, so this is the classic setup for the foot lock. So I'm here and try to pass the guard. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna control the foot. So now my knee goes on the top of his leg here. So I'm gonna sit backwards. I'm gonna squeeze my both knees together to lock his knee. So now here I can even put the kimura grip, or I can grab my own lapel here. And now I'm gonna create this leverage under his heel. So now I start to put the pressure backwards until he taps. Okay. So he's gonna do the grip there. So when I feel he's gonna sit to adjust his position, so straight away what I'm gonna looking for is to pass this leg over and attack his elbow. So I'm gonna do a horse kick on his elbow here, so I can free my foot. Really simple. Okay, so from here, this is the only situation I'm allowed to grab inside of my gi. So arm under the neck, so I'm in control here. Okay, I make sure this arm, so I'm gonna keep this arm in this position here. So the blade of my arm, it's up. So now I'm gonna grab my own gi, my own sleeve inside. Now my fingers are gonna go under his chin around, go to the opposite side, so I can grab my, if I have a gi, I can grab here, or otherwise I just keep on going towards my forearm and start to put the pressure. Okay, so I'm here, my opponent got the grips. So what I need to create here, I need to create some kind of leverage. So my arm is gonna go in front of his face here, and I'm gonna grab my own wrist. So now I'm gonna extend my arm to force him, because he needed his head down to finish the position. So I'm gonna create leverage here, I'm gonna avoid that. So now it's gonna be hard for him to keep the pressure on. So I'm gonna extend until break his grips. Okay, so from here from out, wrist control. Okay, I'm gonna expect him, he's gonna try to bridge up, so I'm gonna keep my base in control here. So now what, I'm gonna use my knees to push his elbows in. So now both grips on, I'm gonna go for his arm, pull across, control his head. So now I'm gonna put his body angle, so I'm gonna step under his armpit, put his body angle. This knee is gonna help me to push his back forward. So now I just need to step over his face, hook him, so give that little adjustment so you can cut all the gap here, go for the arm, head on the ground, create the leverage, umber. Okay, so from here I'm gonna again use that triangle shape to defend my arm. So I'm here, he did everything right, so he got me in this position. So when he started putting me in angle, so I'm gonna reach my elbow here, keep this grip on. So now when he passes his leg over my face, the time I'm gonna catch here. Cool, catch behind his knee. So now straight away, I'm gonna follow him, so I'm gonna face towards him. If I try to face to the other side, I'm helping him to break my grip. So now I'm here, I'm gonna bridge. Remember, your hips is free, so I'm gonna bounce here to help me to go up, step, keep the pressure on again, avoid his bridge up. So now I'm gonna start shaking until I free my arm, push his leg down, pass the side control. Okay, so from here again, wrist control, I start using my knees to push his armpit. So now I'm gonna change my grip. So I'm gonna do this transition here from one wrist to the other wrist. Okay, so both arms together. Now I'm gonna go for his elbow. I'm gonna use all my body weight to connect here. I'm gonna use all my body weight to push his arm down. Elbow on his face so he cannot look inside. So now I'm gonna reach my arm, create leverage under his elbow, and now I start use the leverage. Okay, so defense here, it's really simple. So as soon as I feel he's pin my arm on the ground, so now straight away what I'm gonna looking for, it's to avoid him to create this leverage under my elbow. So I'm gonna extend my arm here, break that grip, and now I'm gonna lock his arm. So from here, I can he doesn't have more that point of balance because I'm hooking his arm now. So now I can bridge up, and go to the top. Okay, so from here, what I'm gonna do, so he's gonna try to defend, so I'm gonna use his own lapel to open space. So here, I'm gonna, using his lapel, open space, 4 fingers in. Okay, so I make sure I got a good grip. I'm not gonna leave my wrist like that, so I'm gonna straighten my wrist. So now from here, I'm gonna put my head on the ground and gonna pass this thumb in, so I can slide around his neck, get the grip, head on the ground to balance myself, and I'm gonna put the pressure on. Okay, so he's gonna get the lapel here. Oh, he's gonna get the other one. So now I'm gonna stop his elbows again. So I'm gonna grab his elbow and I'm gonna put pressure here, controlling his elbows. So now as soon as I put this grip on, I'm gonna lock my elbows as well, and I'm gonna bridge up, try to put him off balance. He cannot put his arm on the ground because he doesn't have balance here, points of balance. So I'm gonna lock here and I'm gonna bridge up, force him to put his back on the ground. So here, again, now I keep the grip on and I start to shake until he escape his grips. Control again. Okay, so here, the knee right, normally the guy is gonna try to relieve that pressure from my knee. So I'm putting the pressure here. Now he's gonna create this shape here. I'm gonna penetrate my arm in. I'm gonna pull him towards me, control his neck. Okay, so leg under his armpit. I'm gonna move around and replace my knee. Exactly the same under his armpit. I'm gonna scoop behind his knee, sitting, controlling his arm. I make sure I keep the grip on, otherwise he's gonna roll over and escape. So from here, over. Okay, so I always keep the grip here on his shoulder, knee right, keep the pressure. So I'm gonna use this grip, so 4 fingers in, thumb. Okay, so now I'm gonna go towards his neck. So I'm gonna cross my grip here. So see, when I go towards his neck, I'm crossing. So the front arm, this arm here in front of his neck, is gonna be the responsible of the pressure. So I pull and choke. Okay, so from this position here, it's really important the position of his arm. So if his arm, it's here, so if I can do the underhook first and hook his arm here, I just need, so if I try to pull him here, my shoulder is gonna block. So I'm gonna free that space. So I'm gonna pass my arm over. So now I can pull him towards me. And now I'm gonna go spin around him to catch his leg and go for the arm. Okay, so here the same concept. So now I'm gonna change my base. So I'm gonna keep my head down. Now I'm gonna penetrate my 4 fingers in. So I look to the opposite side. I penetrate my 4 fingers here. So now I'm gonna get the same setup. So a hand under his arm. So now I'm gonna slide my elbows in, and I'm gonna move my whole body to the north-south position here, and keep the pressure. Heads down. And put the pressure on. Okay, so from this position here, normally the guy is gonna try to create leverage, so he's gonna push me away here. So when he pushes me away, I'm gonna change my base to the opposite side here, but I keep my head, create that resistance. So now I'm gonna grab his wrist, connect my elbows in. So now I'm gonna come back, pushing with my shoulder and my head, go with my elbow in front of his face. So now I'm gonna do the americana here. Create the leverage under his elbow and put the position on. Okay, so this position here, I'm gonna try to escape, so I'm gonna combine 3 movements. So I'm gonna combine bridge, the upa, underhook, and the hip escape at the same time. So now I'm gonna, here, I create the leverage, so upa, underhook. So now I start escape my hips until I go under him, controlling his leg. Now I'm in a third position. Cool, so I'm here, again I'm gonna combine the 3 movements, so upa, underhook and hip escape, but now I'm gonna reestablish my guard. So here, hand on his shoulder so I can create leverage with my forearm under his neck. So I'm gonna bridge, create the leverage and start to do the hip escape. So now I'm gonna penetrate my knee in front of him, create the leverage with my legs, push him away, and I'm gonna reestablish it. So I can go for the spider guard, or I can even close my guard here, legs around him. So here I'm gonna use my arm to avoid my opponent to do the underhook with his head, because if he's putting the underhook on, putting on my side, I'm gonna give the opportunity to him to choke me. So here I'm gonna lock him in this position. Okay, so he's fighting for this underhook, so I'm gonna stop him here. Okay, so I'm gonna grab his belt. Now I'm gonna go with my fingers, this arm on his elbow. So now I'm gonna penetrate my elbow underneath of him, so here. So I can create leverage. So see, I'm gonna connect my elbow and my knee together under him. So now, from this position, when I turn inside, I have the leverage under his hip to flip him over. So now I'm gonna use my leg here to bridge and push him away. Okay, so he's in kesa gatame here. So now what am I looking for? So I'm gonna give this hug so I can bridge up and put his head parallel of my head to the other side here, and I'm gonna face him with my hips. So I'm gonna bridge, put there. So now I'm gonna try to put my hips underneath of his hip. So now I'm gonna come back with the same movement. Whoa. Going to side control. Okay guys, so here I'm gonna looking for to use my knee to connect here, penetrate. So straight away when I put this position on, I'm gonna go with my arm under his armpit here, open the lapel. So when I open here, I'm gonna connect also thumb in, arm in front of his neck. So connect, one grip on. So now I make sure I'm gonna put this lapel towards his neck. So now I'm gonna go for the cross grip. So this arm under his armpit is gonna grab the other lapel. Okay, so pressure here. Now I'm gonna switch my hips, shift my hips from this position over his shoulder. So I keep the pressure on, pass over his shoulder, and now the pressure is on. Clock choke. Okay guys, so the same setup for the clock choke. So I'm here, open the lapel, connect my hand in front of his neck, but now he's defending, I'm gonna grab his wrist. Now, pushing with this knee, I'm gonna create a space to hook with the other leg. So I'm gonna hook here. Now, straight away, when I hook here, I'm gonna roll over his neck. So now, this hook here is gonna avoid him to go to attack the lapel or turn to the other side. So here, I'm gonna keep this grip on, go behind his neck. So this is the crucifix. Okay, so here, as soon as my partner rolls to turtle position, so I'm gonna use the same concept of grip. So I'm gonna pass my arm in front of his face, grab the lapel. So thumb end, so I connect it around his neck. So now I'm under his armpit, and now I'm gonna go behind his neck again. Now I'm gonna create a space here so I can go over, keep walking toward his neck, until I finish. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna look for the arm. It's under my armpit, so I'm gonna grab his own wrist. Now I'm gonna use control his wrist here. I'm gonna use the Rickson 4-point. So I step up to create leverage here, penetrate my leg. So I'm doing the Rickson 4 points, force him to flat his face on the ground. So now I'm going to do the omoplata. Okay, so here I'm gonna use the classic Rickson 4 points. So hand on the ground. Okay, so I make sure I keep this grip on so he doesn't go towards my back. Okay, so I keep one grip on, hand on the ground. So I'm gonna create leverage again. Escape. My head is put pressure against his shoulder. So now I'm gonna turn towards him and connect the seat belt. Okay, so the same situation here. So now I have the grips in both legs. So I'm gonna step up, free my head here. So now I'm gonna push with my leg and pull I'm gonna push with my head and pull his legs at the same time. So here. Okay, so here always start with both grips on, take it off one grip and put the other grip on. So always grip on, always keep your hands busy. So now I'm gonna switch my base, put my knee against his shoulder. So now if I put my knee here, he's gonna squeeze and pass my guard. So when I set up, this is a kind of guard. So now I'm gonna cut the tree here and get on the top. Okay, so I'm here. I'm gonna use my legs and my arms to break his posture. So now I'm gonna sit up here, but he's gonna create some kind of a resistance. So he's gonna try or pin my back on the ground. So here my hand is gonna give me the balance. So now I'm gonna push with my hips forward. Switch to mount. Okay, so from this position, both grips on again. So I'm gonna extend that arm in an angle. So my arm is gonna be parallel of his arm. This free one is gonna scoop under his leg. So now I'm gonna use my hips to push him forward. Get the elbow here. So I always gonna give that little adjustment and get the elbow here. Okay, so I'm from close guard here. My partner try to stand up. So I'm gonna grab his ankle. So I'm gonna slide my hips down, grab his ankle. Now I'm gonna push him forward with my hips. Grab his gi, so help me to climb up and I get in the mount. Okay, so here I'm in a close guard, so he's gonna try to pass my guard, stand up, so I'm gonna get that control with my feet on his hip. So here, when he cannot put any grip on, he's gonna be vulnerable to this position, so I'm gonna cross and lift him up. So see, I keep him in control here, so now, because he doesn't have points of balance here, he cannot balance himself, I'm gonna flip him over, with control, and on mount. Okay, so this position I'm gonna do the classical omoplata attack. So both grips, cross the grip, make sure you get this one. So now both arms, pull his arm across and I'm gonna scoop under his leg. I start turning my hips parallel off his body, so I'm gonna extend here. In this moment when I extend, I'm gonna roll at the same time. Keep the grip on, so now I'm gonna pass my leg under his neck, do the grip here, so I can or attack his arm or finish with a triangle. Okay guys, so here, grip zone, butterfly guard, so my hook is inside of his legs. So I keep my elbows in, I'm gonna take it off just one, and I'm gonna give the hug. So when I do the hug, this leg is gonna pass under my other leg. So here, I catch, I bring him towards me, I'm gonna lock his arm here. So now I'm not gonna go backwards, I'm gonna go on my side here, put my shoulder on the ground, create the leverage. Now straight away, my knee is gonna lock his hip, and I'm gonna end in a kesa gatame position. So here, my partner is gonna try to pass my guard stand up. So I'm gonna extend one leg on his knee, and now this leg is gonna go behind and go through his leg. If you have a short leg, you're gonna just do a short hook. Otherwise, you're gonna go to the other side. You're gonna cross his arm again, so he doesn't have grips. He's gonna be off balance. I'm gonna pull him towards me in control. Push him through. Pass the guard. Okay, so again, my partner is going to try to pass my guard stand up. So I keep the grip zone. As soon as he stand up, I'm not going to give any time to him, so I'm going to go around his knees, lock my legs together. Again, I'm going to look for the cross grip, so I can pull him towards me and in control, go to the ground, and pass his guard. So that one you switch your hips.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so here, my opponent, he's gonna switch his base straight away. So when he switch his base here, it's really dangerous for me. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna keep the hook. Now I'm gonna unlock my half guard, so I can use this hook behind his knee. So I keep pulling with this leg here. Now I got this leverage here. Okay, so now I'm gonna control. So see, he just have this point of balance with his elbow. So I'm gonna pull this elbow and I'm gonna do a kick, create the leverage with the other leg here. So looking for the underhook, here, straight away, pass the guard. Okay, so from here now to the opposite situation. I'm not gonna let him switch his hip. So what I'm gonna do straight away, I'm gonna sit up looking for the underhook here. So I'm gonna catch his ankle, looking for the underhook. So now I'm gonna use this leg to sit up. So I'm gonna change the grip, so this grip is gonna go on his ankle. Now I'm gonna hug his leg and push forward with my head. Here, I keep the grip on until I penetrate my knee and pass the guard. One more here. The grace is starting. Okay guys, so this is the Baiana double leg. So back at the time guys, so normally the Gracie family was doing that, giving this kick on the front leg So when the guy give the kick on the front leg, it's gonna force him to go backward. So now I'm gonna penetrate my knee and grab the both legs. So now I'm gonna step here and use my leg to push him to the side. So this action here, grab, push, go for the double leg. So here I'm gonna looking for to just do this fake kick. So I'm gonna just cut the distance. I'm gonna force my partner to go backwards. So now I'm gonna penetrate my knee and shoot. So I can grab the legs. And I'm gonna use my leg to push him forward and go for the double leg. Single leg. Cool. Okay guys, so let's do the single leg from the actual grips here guys. So again, I'm gonna control his lapel, I'm gonna control his sleeves here. So now what I'm gonna looking for guys is to open space so I keep the grip on, otherwise if I just go there, my neck's gonna be vulnerable to his attack for the guillotine, so I keep the grip on. So I'm gonna open space here, so when I'm engaged from this position, so I'm gonna open space, shoot my knee in. So now I keep the grip on, and now what I need to do is just hook with the outside leg, push him forward. I'm gonna pass this grip under his leg, so I'm gonna keep the grip here, go for the climb up, so I can put my arm under his neck, switch my hips, and pass it down. Okay guys, so this one is the time you're gonna show your favorite submission. I'm gonna show one of my favorite submission from side control, so you can get some kind of ideas and show your favorite submission from anywhere. Okay, so from here I pass the guard, so I keep the knee, I keep my knee controlling his hip. So now guys, I'm gonna always place your head on his shoulder, because you're gonna avoid him to do this reaction here of turn to his side. So when I keep my head here, I keep him in control. So I'm gonna open the lapel, pass under the armpit, so I'm gonna have this extra grip. So already this is a good grip, because it's gonna do the same job my head was doing here. So now I got the grip, this keep a really strong position for me. So now guys, from this situation, I'm gonna keep this grip so I don't change the position of this arm. So I'm gonna change toward his neck. So now I'm gonna step up here, force him to go to his side. So here, if he doesn't go to his side, I'm gonna be able to finish the position here straight away, just with one arm. But normally he's gonna turn to his side. So now, what I'm gonna do, I keep lock with my knee there. So I'm gonna catch the other lapel, open there, and I'm gonna pass under his neck. So now when I pass this under his neck, so see what I'm gonna get here. So now I'm gonna cross. So as soon as I open this lapel here and pass under his neck, I'm gonna cross. So now I'm gonna force him to flat his back again. So now it's hard for him. In direction he tried to roll, it's gonna give me the option of the choke.